Hello and welcome to part 2 of Indus Valley Civilization series. Now in the previous video we discussed what the civilization is, who founded the Indus Valley Civilization, what was the town planning, basically what the buildings, how the roads looked like at that particular point of time or in that era. And now in this particular video we are going to continue the series and we are going to deal with three broader topics, which is social condition of Indus Valley Civilization, economic condition and religious condition of the same. So when talking about social condition or social life of Indus Valley people, we'll deal with the people of Indus Valley Civilization on the basis of their living culture, their food habits, the attires they worn, and what basically the society was at that point of time. So it seems that Harappan society was matriarchal in nature, and there is ample evidence to support this statement, as the popularity of Mother Goddess is indicated by the finding of large number of terracotta female figures in Punjab and Sindh region. So there was a sculpture of Mother Goddess which was found in Punjab and Sindh region, which suggests that people usually used to worship Mother Goddess, and this shows that the society was matriarchal in nature. And Harappan civilization had people indulged in various professions. Now people of that particular time had or did practice different sorts of professions. Some were involved in priestly work, some were warriors, some were traders, peasants, artisans, and so on. Now here I have attached a picture of Mother Goddess, and you know what is the significance of attaching all these pictures? This is because when we read or when we study something with diagrams, with proper picture, it helps us to grasp things easily. So this is a picture of Mother Goddess which people usually used to worship at that point of time. Moving further, people were divided into different stratas of society, as we saw that there were different buildings for different class of people. So basically the people had to go through social stratification, social differentiation, as the elites were meant to be accommodated in bigger houses, multi-roomed houses, whereas poorers had to live in small accommodations, small quarters. So this basically shows social disparity. Now evidences have been found that people in Harappa cultivated wheat, barley, rice and date. So these were the food items which were generally cultivated during that time, and people were basically cattle herders. So in the further slide we'll see that the economy of Harappa is basically agro economy. They were basically dependent on agriculture, so and animal husbandry. So this makes it quite obvious that they used to keep cattle, and some evidences of burnt bones have also been traced, which throws light on people being non-vegetarian. So this basically shows the food habits of the people of Harappa. Now when it comes to their clothing, we see that terracotta figures and stone sculptures indicate that men wore clothes which covered the torso in the upper part of the body in such a fashion that it kept the right hand free. And to cover the lower half of the body, they wore something which had an uncanny resemblance to skirt. And a piece of women clothing has been found at Mohenjo-daro. So this speaks volumes about the attire or the clothing habits of the people of Harappa. So men used to wear something which which covered the upper part of the body, and it was worn in such a fashion that the right arm or the right hand was set free. And in the lower half of the body there was something which had a resemblance to a skirt. And needles have also been traced at the excavation sites, which indicate that weaving or sewing was very much in practice at that point of time. Now here I have attached figure of a male torso, which now you can see here that the right arm is set freely. As I said in the initial slide, that they used to wear the clothing in such a fashion that the right arm was set freely. So this is how they used to wear the clothes. Now if we talk about the language, so I remember I also explained this thing in the previous video, that the script of the Harappan people was not deciphered. So deciphered as in they couldn't be read, or they couldn't be understood, they were not understandable, they were not easy to read. So it is assumed that they used to converse through pictures by engraving on copper plates, seals, bones, ivories, etc. Now when talking about their ornaments or their fashion sense or the jewelry they used to wear, so basically women wore girdles, earrings, anklets, and ornaments worn by men included lapis, cornelian, lazuli, etc. So this basically indicate about their ornaments or what they used to wear. So we just need to remember the names of some of the ornaments worn by women and some worn by men. And here I have attached a picture for the same, what sorts of ornaments they worn and how they looked alike. So now comes the economic conditions and the economic life of the people of Harappa. So when it comes to the economic life of the Indus Valley people, it is very evident that agriculture and trade dominated the main profession as the main profession. Plus not to forget that barter system was prevalent at that point of time. And what was the unit of measurement? What was the unit? So the unit of measurement was 16. Now what is barter system? Since we are dealing with the term barter, we need to know in a very I'm sure you all must be knowing about this, obviously, but barter system was a traditional method of exchange in which goods and services were exchanged for other goods and services. So basically this means that there was no currency, there was no paper notes, no coins at that point of time. Some silver and bronze coins were there, but usually the barter system was the method of exchange. So we are going to deal with economic life or economic conditions of Indus Valley people on 4 broader perspectives, that is agriculture, animal husbandry, trade and crafts. So moving, if we talk about agriculture, people grew wheat and barley in surplus. A lot of agricultural equipment found in excavation suggests the dominance of agriculture as primary occupation of the people. As said earlier, the evidence in the form of large granaries, and if we remember, we read about granaries in the town planning. So we have ample of evidence suggesting the stock of food grains used to, Harappan people used to keep stock of food grains, as it is evident by the granaries which were there at that point of time. And agriculture was one of the most important things to be noticed. Agriculture was totally dependent on rain-fed water. Otherwise, they had to derive water from river Indus, and when river Indus used to get flooded in the rainy season, they would, it would be left with fertile soil, which in turn would yield a very good harvest. So here comes some, a bit of a geographical aspect, that when the, after the flooding of river Indus, fields used to get inundated and would be left with fertile soil, which in turn would yield a good harvest. Now, when it comes to animal husbandry, we see that they usually domesticated animals such as buffalo and sheep, goat. Humpless and unicorn were very important for them, but they, however, didn't know anything about lion. In an excavation which was carried in Surkotado in Gujarat, jaw bones of horse have been found. Now this is very important point to be noticed. Jaw bones of horse was found in an excavation practice. Now I have attached a picture for the same. This is the bone structure of the horse which was found in the excavation at Gujarat. Now talking about the trade practice, now trade was besides agriculture and animal husbandry, trade was also one of the main factors which contributed to the economy of Indus Valley civilization. And now this is not said without an evidence. Evidence suggests that dockyard has been found at Lothal, which is the longest building of the Harappan civilization. Sea and land route therefore was predominant. Since the trade is being carried out, then you have to have a land route and sea route. Otherwise trade is viably not possible. And Mesopotamian regions give us some important evidence of extensive sea trade. Cotton was exported majorly. Then also there was a major dominance of cotton, and it contributed a lot to trade practices. Terracotta seals were used for stamping of goods by merchants. Now I have attached a figure for the terracotta seals as well, so that it becomes easy to go through the slides. Important countries involved in the trade were Egypt, Babylon and Afghanistan. So these were the basic three countries which were involved in the trade during Indus Valley civilization. Now this is terracotta seals. Now we do not have to learn much in this regard, so let's proceed further. Now we are on the fourth point of economic activities, which is crafts. So Harappan civilization is rightfully also known as the Bronze Age civilization. Bronze image of the famous dancing girl identified as Devadasi has been found at Mohenjo-daro. Now potter's wheel was very much in vogue. Harappans were very well trained with making of seals, stones, statues, terracotta figures, etc. And no wonder why we have found so much of evidences in the excavation, because it has rightfully been said as the Harappans were very trained with the making of seals, stones, statues, terracotta figures, etc. Now this is the famous image of the dancing girl I was talking about in the previous slide. Now moving further, they even made jewellery of gold, silver and precious stones. Bangle making and shell ornaments were very much in practice, which is obvious from the evidence found at Balakot. Cotton, wool and leather were very familiar to them, but they weren't acquainted with silk. Now comes the religious condition. Now our third and the last topic is religious life of the Indus Valley civilization. The main object of worship was mother goddess. Lingam and yoni worship were also prevalent. Now here we need to know a great deal about these two terms particularly. Now what does lingam worship meant? Now lingam worship generally referred in the context to Lord Shiva's worship. You would basically see the temples with Shivling, which supposedly is the energy of the world, or which is also supposedly said to be the genital of Lord Shiva, which was considered to be epitome of energy. So it was a belief that if they worshipped Shivlingam, they would have enough energy, and they would have sustainability to lead their lives. Now yoni worship, it basically refers to the female genitals, and more specifically vulva or uterus or womb. During tantric rituals, yonis are worshipped, which basically signify female power. So same goes with the female females worship of goddess, yoni worship, and they also believe that if they do the yoni puja, they would basically have enough of power and energy to lead their lives. Now many trees, animals, birds, stones were also worshipped, and this religion of Hadappans was called as animism. This term is to be remembered. Now evidences show that Hadappan people also worship fire, which is shown from sites such as Lothal and Kalibangan. Why? Because at Kalibangan, a series of raised brick platform with pits containing ash and animal bones have been discovered. Scholars have termed them as fire altars. So this was all about religious, and now I have attached a picture for the lingam and yoni worship. So this was basically the idols the people of Hadappa used to worship. Now in context of death, it can be seen that the dead bodies generally rested in north-south direction with their head facing north and feet facing the south. So basically they believed, the people of Hadappa believed in life after death. So now nothing is left to be discussed. I believe we discussed social life, we discussed religious life, we discussed about the economy of Indus Valley civilization. The only point we did not pay much heed to is political scenario of the Indus Valley people. And why we did not pay attention to this? Because not many things were seen in this respect, and people basically believed in rajas or kings. And after looking at the sanitation and cleanliness the Indus Valley civilization people maintained, it can be assumed that nothing much was there to be done in this respect. Hope you liked the video. Thank you.